Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Just give me 2 seconds. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Shotsuki monthly memorial service for the month of July. I'd like to begin by, first of all, thanking all of you for coming out today, to those people that are actually here, as well as all the people that are joining us throughout the country on Zoom. For some of you, you may have heard, but some of you may not have. I gave everybody a scare last week. I had a little bit of a medical incident, but I am getting on the mend. So it's nice to be back here with all of you today. So we'd like to begin this Shotsuki service off with a moment of silent meditation, followed by the recitation of the name of the Buddha or the Onenbutsu. For the people that are joining us here today, this service is a little different, and not what you're used to coming to the temple. As you can see, we have this Zoom going on at the same time. So there are actually people joining us from places as far as Hawaii to Nova Scotia. This service live with us this morning. So we'll begin with a moment of silent meditation and followed by the recitation of the name of the Buddha or the Onenbutsu. And I sit down here when I do the Zoom service because it's closer to the screen so that people can see me better. So please forgive me if you were thinking that I was going to be up in the Naiji. Also, this 10 o'clock service is an English service, and we do have a Japanese service that we've been separating the two now. So the Japanese service will actually begin at 11:30. 今日のお参りは7月の正月法要で、もう3ヶ月前ぐらいからですかね、英語と日本語を分けてやってるんですね。だから英語のお参りが10時からっていうことで、また日本語のお参りが11時半から改めてあります。というわけなんです。So we'll begin with a moment of silent meditation, followed by a recitation of the Nembutsu. No more knobs, no more knobs, no more knobs, no more knobs, no more knobs. Next, we will have the sutra chanting. We're going to begin with the chanting of the Sambujo, and I'll bring the Sambujo up on the screen for those who are at home. Sambujo is a symbolic calling to Amida Buddha, Buddha of infinite light and boundless compassion, to Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha, and to the Buddhas of the 10 quarters announcing this service. And then following that, we'll be chanting the Shoshinge using the Juninai Fushi. So for the people that are here, the Sambujo is on page 89 of the Purple Seiten, and the Shoshinge is on page 17, is it? On page 17. But as I said, we're going to be chanting the Shoshinge with the Jun Fushi. When we begin chanting the Shoshinge, for those who are here, if you could come up and burn incense in honor of your loved ones. Once we finish the Sambujo, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting up the names of our Shotsuki members, the people who have passed away during the month of July, onto the screen. So we won't be reading out the names as we have been doing traditionally, but you can see it on the TV screen here for those people that are here. The names of loved ones will come across. So when you see your loved one's name, you could come on up and burn, offer incense. Namandops, 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 namandops. Namandops, namandops. Please join me in reading the English translation that you see on the screen. We respectfully welcome Amida Buddha to our temple as we scatter flowers of joy. We respectfully welcome Shakyamuni Buddha to our temple as we scatter flowers of joy. We respectfully welcome the Buddha of all times and places to our temple as we scatter flowers of joy. 이묘무료주녀라이 나모가시기고 오소모사느이니 자이세니자이오무쇼 동해조무드요나이 동해노니네시데마 온유무요시종아 조득에 은하유세 공허시유시조유 예세묘여모니모 어무료무행고 무게문나이고엔노 조조강기지에고 은하난지무쇼고 조니징하고 요진세 리사이근 조무고쇼 옹암묘고 조조고 지시신명가니 요노가그조다이네하 이시메드농한요주 요라이쇼이거예세 예세드미다 홍강가 고조그아그지근조가 오신요라이뇨지등호
너의 진행기 하신 은하모노 너그네함 먼저 야구 사연유 여시시유가이지미 세유신고조조고 이노스의 함음묘함 돈나신소시음은 여부신지스신지네 인연이거음은 음무시게 묘무함 야그신경교다이교기 소그어조세드고아그슈 이사이세마그모무니 몬신요라이그세가 부드공고다이쇼계샤 제니묘원다리게 미다부동안에붓 자겐교만나그여요 신교지지지니나 난제시나무가시 인도사이대시롱에 즉가지지기시고소 겐다요고세조이 면요라연내오기 자가뇨라이료가슨 이즈고면안된지 유즈다시신노세 지스노사야음무겐 센세스나요무조 조강이지요안락 겐지나요로그로그 징여이겨지도락 오그네미다부성함 진행성지유이즈요 유이노조쇼녀라이고 오나이그세요 겐지모사스소로셋 이묘무게 고녀라이 에슈다라 겐신예 고세모조나이세가 고유홍안이기에고 이적은 조조이시 기유그도그나요가 이스야그뉴나의 슈슈 도그시랭게소세가 即上心尿上己，业波那利愿今日，入上己阳己阳愿，往昔多难了天心。yoga na yobo zatsurai zanzo rishi ju yogyo bonjo zengyo ginag ho tenji bo zatsuron juge Odo inga genze ga ogene koye nani shoujo shi yue shenji wakuzen mo mu shinji mo shoji shoji sokune ha ishi muryo go myodo shoshu yo uge dosha ge shodo nan yo ye myo jodo ga zi nyu ma zen ji ri yen go shi eman do gu go gan zen sho sam bu san yin ge ong go zo ma zo men zi do yi yi xiao zo a ge ji ge ze ji an yong ai xiao miao ga zen do do ge miao bu xiao yi bo ai jiu zan yo jia ge a go miao miao go ken ni ne kai yu ong an nai ji gai yo jia xiu yu gong ge xi yo gi ji ren song go yo yi dai do ya ge san ni so ge yo yo ji yo na gen xin go gai ji dai yo en gi an yo gai sai sen zo shi xin an zen yin tong ge ni do yo ben yu go ge yu a ge ni ye yo ben ga ya ge zai se shi chu bo no shou gen sui gen dai me gen jo shou ga huan xi gen ge miao bu yo ren mi zen ma ge pong bu ni xin xie miao shou go en xue sen jiang ge ong an ge a ge ze nian nai xiu ji ni zhen ge ye ji gi yo yi xiao xi zong ge ye jia ge xiao me yi na yi ji xin ji no nian ge miao dai yi ye yi do yo zai me gong ge yo ge a do zo ge ji ye gen do shi ye ga ji ji o so No one knows, no one knows, no one knows, no one knows.
So now I'd like to have my Dharma talk, and I'm going to begin by reading a passage from Renya Shoni's letters. Actually, it's a translation of Renya Shoni's letters. And this letter is entitled Solely Saying the Name Constantly. What is the meaning of Namo Amida Butsu? To begin with, the two-character word Namo means taking refuge in, and Amida's aspiring and directing virtue. Also, Namo implies the vow, and Amida Butsu implies Amida's saving activity. When you abandon various practices and miscellaneous acts of virtue and awaken a single thought of entrusting for your emancipation through exclusive and single-minded reliance on Amida Tathagata, Amida compassionately sends forth the universally illuminating light and enfolds you in it. This is the meaning of the four-character word Amida Butsu, and of aspiring and directing virtue. Now then, you can see that the six-character word Namo Amida Butsu is a name which precisely indicates the significance of the entrusting heart of other power through which you are to attain birth. In regard to this point, the passage of fulfillment of the vow reads, hearing the name, one attains the entrusting and joyful heart. The meaning of this passage is that having heard the name, one attains an entrusting heart and rejoices in it. Hearing the name is not simply hearing it in the ordinary sense of the term. It should be remembered that when you meet a good spiritual teacher and hear with deep understanding the significance of the six-character word, Namo Amida Butsu, this is the entrusting heart of other power, through which you attain birth in the fulfilled land. It follows then that the entrusting and joyful heart is a heart that rejoices, free of any doubt about birth in the pure land, when the entrusting heart is settled. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So once again, good morning, everyone, and thank you all for coming, attending our Shotsuki service. And so for those who are joining us via Zoom, thank you for joining us as well. This morning, I'm going to start off with a humorous story, and many of you actually have probably heard me tell this. Some of you on Zoom may not have heard this one before, but it's about a couple, a senior couple, and how both of them are starting to go hard of hearing. I noticed this morning when Oya-san came in, Bernice was saying, oh, my mother can't hear anymore. But I think this happens to all of us, including myself. But there was a couple, just a second here. There was a senior couple that felt that both of them, their hearing was going. And both of them, of course, wouldn't admit that theirs was worse than the others. Right? So one day the husband decides that he's going to get his wife. And so she happened to be cooking in the kitchen. And she was at the stove, and he was at the dining room entrance into the kitchen. And he said to her, can you hear me? And of course, she was facing towards the stove, and he didn't hear any reply. So he moves a little closer and he says again, can you hear me? And still no reply. So for the third time, he goes up a little right behind her and says, can you hear me? And she whirls around and she says, for the third time already, yes, I can hear you. Okay. So this story, why I bring that up today, is that, you know, when we lead our daily life, I am actually the senior man. I'm the one who thinks normally that I'm in control of my life, but it can very easily get out of control. We're not really as in control as we think we are. You know, this Shotsuki service is a time in which we come through our loved ones who passed away during the month of July. They're giving us a time to reflect on the Dharma. And I'm really very fortunate because I get more opportunity than probably all of you to reflect on the Dharma, as I have to give a talk every Sunday or write an article for the newsletter. And all these activities provide an opportunity for me to reflect. And so what I wanted to do, because I know I gave some people a scare last week, is just to go over a little bit of what happened to myself. Share with you what I experienced. So what happened last week, this was Saturday night or early Sunday morning, a week ago. And I was busy trying to get an article written for the newsletter. Now, it actually starts back on Thursday because silly me hears the self that thinks they're in control, but really isn't in control. I thought I had an extra week, another week before the newsletter came out. And it wasn't until Thursday night that I realized that last weekend was the weekend for putting together the newsletter. So I thought, oh my goodness, this is no good. But normally I would do something on Friday and Saturday and apologize to Reiner, our editor, for getting my articles in late. But usually I'm able to get something in by the Sunday. Well, so Friday I worked on my English article, and sometimes things don't come as easily as other times. And this was the case this past month. I was, if you read this July newsletter, it's a very trying article that I wrote, because I wrote on one of the things that has happened with this Zoom service. It's been wonderful in that we're touching people from across the country. Today we have about 80 people joining us. 80 people, or I should say more than that, because there's many of them are couples watching. So probably over 100 people that are joining us electronically, which has been really wonderful for us. But at the same time, it means that now I have encounters with all these people. And so they write me questions, and I haven't had to answer so many questions on Buddhism as I have since this pandemic started. But during that time, one of the individuals who contacted me told me about one of their co-workers committing suicide. And so my article this past, for July, is actually on suicide and how Buddhism views suicide. So it was a very trying article, not an easy subject to broach. So I was up Friday, and then Saturday night, I was working on my Japanese article. And so I was up very late. It must have been close to 2 o'clock. And I still hadn't finished the article yet, but I thought I needed a break. So I went to the washroom to brush my teeth. And that's the last thing I remember, was going to the washroom, grabbing my toothbrush, and then everything went blank. Okay. And apparently what had happened is at that time, I had what they call a grand mal seizure. And that's where you fall over and you start, your whole body starts twitching. Now, because it was 2 in the morning, the rest of my family were all asleep. And then, so the dogs started barking when I started having the seizure. And my wife, in her half state of sleep, was wondering why the dog was barking. She thought it was the laundry that was, our washing machine that was making the noise. So she was wondering why the dog is barking at the washing machine. Well, of course, it was myself having the seizure. But after it subsided, I got up and went to the room, our bedroom. Like, I don't remember any of this, okay? So, but apparently I got up myself, went to our bedroom, and I turned on our light. And of course, my wife, who was sleeping, was saying, "What are you doing? Turning on the light." So I quickly turned the light back off, and I crawled into bed apparently. But my wife thought, this is kind of strange, because if I'm up late, I usually don't turn on the light when I go to sleep. So she thought, this is strange. So she talked to me, and apparently I wasn't coherent. So that's when she turned on her lamp, the nightstand lamp, and looked over at me, and she knows there was blood on my face. And she thought, oh my goodness, something's happened. And so that's when she called 911. And all I have are snapshots of memory. Like, I don't have any coherent memory. But apparently, after the paramedics came, I got dressed by myself. And I even told my wife, now this is, I pat myself on the back here a little bit to show you how dedicated I am. I told my wife to contact Reiner, our editor, to tell him that I can't complete my Japanese article before I got into the ambulance, apparently. I don't remember any of this. But anyways, so then I went to the hospital and stayed overnight there. And they did what they call a CAT scan, which came out negative, or nothing unusual. And I'm to have 2 more tests. One is an MRI, which is going to be this coming Friday. And then following that, what they call EEG. EEG is where they look at your brain waves. So I'll be doing those 2 tests as well. Now, the reason why I say all this is that, here I was thinking I'm in complete control of myself, and yet this happens. Right? And so realizing that I'm not in that much control of who I am. But at the same time, through this whole incident, through this whole episode, I began to realize I'm actually quite grateful. Grateful for the fact. So I scared a lot of people, and I worried a lot of people. So thank you for all the people who sent well wishes. I am getting back on my feet and on the mend. But why I'm grateful is, in fact, as a child, I had what they call juvenile epilepsy. So I've had about 12 seizures growing up. And I was on medication, I saw specialists, but this all ended when I was around 16. And then in my 20s, I had 2 more seizures. But then after that, I haven't had any for over 30 years now. Okay. So I had completely forgotten all about this when this latest incident happened. But the reason why I'm grateful, it suddenly came to me that if I had not had those past seizures, I would probably be a lot more worried right now. I might be thinking, oh, I have a brain tumor, or I wouldn't know why I had this. But because of my past history, I know exactly what I have, and I know exactly how to deal with it, basically. So, it reminded me of, and I've told this before in our Zoom services before about how Genza-san was grateful that his nose points downwards. When we listen to the Dharma, we begin to appreciate each and every moment. And as we gather here today for our Shotsuki service, we realize our loved ones who passed away during the month of July have given us another opportunity, an opportunity once in a lifetime, because this day will never come back again in our life, but another opportunity for us to reflect on what we have in our life, for us to realize that each and every moment is not to be taken for granted. That in fact, each and every moment is a precious gift that we receive. And so as we remember that and we remind ourselves of our oneness, the continued connection that we have with our loved ones, it is an opportunity for us to say again, thank you. Thank you for not only sharing their life with us, but also bringing us back together again, giving us another opportunity to realize, yes, how precious this very moment is, and how grateful I am to be able to share this moment with each and every one of us. So I wanted to share that experience with everybody so that those who are worried realize that, yeah, it takes a little time, but I am getting back to normal. So thank you all. And I'd like to close this morning service. We'll be singing the gata Ondoku-san. And see, I think on your Seiken, I think it's page 307, is it? And I'll bring it up on the screen for those. Hang on a second. Let me just, Genevieve, give me 2 seconds to bring it up on the screen. So for those who are joining us by Zoom, you'll see it on the screen. Okay. Thank you. So this will conclude our morning Shotsuki service for July. Thank you to all those who did come out. Please make sure you grab your homyo and take the right homyo with you. For coming up on the 19th of, actually there's two things. On the 18th of this month, there's going to be a national Obon service that's going to be held online using this Zoom. That's going to be 10 o'clock Pacific time, 10 a.m. Pacific time on June 18th. But on June 19th, we will be holding our Stisam Buddhist Temple Hatsubon and Obon service. And that'll be, again, very similar to this. It'll be a joint live as well as having people join in with Zoom as well. So if you wish to attend the Hatsubon or Obon service, and we will be actually having, just like we are now, 10 o'clock English and 11:30 Japanese. So if you wanted to come Japanese, join 11:30 service. And if you are going to come, please let the office know, because we could only have up to a maximum, well, they say now we could have up to 50 people. So we just have to make sure everybody's spread out socially distance. So thank you all for attending this morning, and we'll just close with the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.